Greetings, friends. Aloha from Earth. This is Gemini Brett here on November 17th, 2021. You didn't hear from me yesterday. I was hiding in a cave, actually very much devoted to work, but did take enough time to get in a fight, and I should have known better, friends. I mean, I was staring at it, and still, sometimes that's not enough. Or perhaps it's just like looking at all of the alignments and you have to respond to them. Well, let's respond rather than react. Let's use astrology not as a way out, but as a way in. And you know what? Sometimes the heavenly harmonies are playing some tricky tones. But there's always tension and release. Some of the tension today is courtesy this Mars-Uranus opposition. Now it's been building. We had the new moon opposite Uranus. Since then, we've had Mercury opposite Uranus. We are in a great time of Saturn and Uranus in square. And you can see how that's still aligned, especially now the moon in Taurus is squaring Saturn, right? And bringing that energy to Uranus. But we'll see moon in between. I'm sorry, Venus, the moon trine Venus. So this is some of that release I'm talking about. Earth signs calling for body. We need to drink with deep roots to be fully quenched, right? Because the most beautiful water is inside the earth, the pristine stuff that, you know, the Bayer group hasn't gotten to. Anyway, so what does that mean, root down? Let me read what I wrote about these transits of today. And you know what? I think I'm going to catch up to that by rewinding to yesterday, where an Aries moon squared Pluto and the sun sextiled Pluto. So that square tension, the sextile release, probably more tension than release. How was it for you yesterday with the luminaries aligned with Pluto? So I just wrote change begins with you, compost the old into the new. How'd you do? We also benefited yesterday from Sun in parallel with Saturn. So what I wrote about that is that Aquarius Saturn is following in the Scorpio Sun's path. May the air remember that it is wet. May we be brought together, not separated by our intellect. This is a really important thing, especially now. So the mind, just look at the air sign, the air glyph, it's divided. You see that, right? The water is not. But air is said to be hot, lifting us up, expanding, but wet, bringing us together, right? Dryness is separation, individual grains of sand, but the wave comes in to bring the wet, and now it's just one clay. I think it's really important that we remember this. I mean, Saturn tends to separate, and that's Mars's function, but Saturn's boundaries. And so you are you and I am me. And sometimes we are so divided in mind. Let the passion of the enlivening heart remind us that we share one global feel. Right? But what is it, you know? And who are you listening to and what that is? There's a lot of control and power dynamics in the air right now. So probably locally, like very locally, like in the self, in your immediate relations and family, you know, culture, country, if you do that thing, certainly globe, serious power dynamics, and so much is riding in on the wave of fear, right? Think about, we just had the great, global conscious, you know, Earth Crisis Conference, and all the billionaires flew on their private jets to make rules about what you and I can do to save the Earth, while they continue to just burn the fuel and count the chips, right? So look, Earth is in a tricky way, and we certainly need to bring love and healing and realign our ways of how we participate. This is a huge calling of TaUranus times and these strong alignments to Uranus. Yes, let us bring our eyes to the need of Earth for us to know we are Earthlings and act that way again. But be careful with the lawmakers who will use any opportunity and spread fear to, well, lock you down. Here's to that. Not at all. You can see why sometimes it's better for me to just not go live. And yet here I am. Let's stir the pot. All right, so Taurus moon, square Saturn, trine Venus, conjoined Uranus, then opposite Mars. I should say there was, oh, never mind. I'm thinking of a different chart. So I wrote, there's so much to do today, and at times you'll likely feel you are caught in between a rock and a hard place. Don't charge like a bull, relax, recharge, and flow. I wish I could take my own advice, but I'm going to be working away to get ready for an important date this afternoon. And that's how it is sometimes, right? I mean, if we do astrology as a way in and astrology as practice, and we look ahead to these times, we should take some time for ourselves, right? Mental health day, physical health year, you know, to kind of get away and calm down. And regardless of how busy you may be today, and I'm speaking to myself, the only one I see on the screen, make sure you get outside and be with the trees, check the falling leaves or the budding flowers if you're in the other hemisphere. For me, right, it's really important that we earth at this time, connect to our mother's electric field. It's very much in the air. All right, so at 9:32 a.m., coming very soon in the theater called Us, we will have this Mars opposite Uranus aspect perfect. And it's there for the coming lunar eclipse, which will be, I guess, the next transit on this list, right? A Taurus lunar eclipse conjoined algol. But I guess we'll get to that when it comes. That lunar eclipse, by the way, will be visible in where I live in the United States, and I will not be hiding under a rock, but rather staying up late and getting outside, because the Taurus moon in the northern hemisphere, especially late Taurus, is very high in the sky. So it's kind of like probably blankets on the trampoline time that night for me. If you're in Hawaii, it's like perfectly overhead in the midst of the blood moon. It's something you're going to want to see. And while it's not a total lunar eclipse, it is very, very close to total. Like 97% of the moon will be eclipsed by Earth's umbra, Earth's, the shadow of Earth's rocky body. And the moon will turn like orange, red. And yes, it's the algol degree, but you'll find if you choose to watch that it's much closer to the Pleiades. Right, so we can like draw lines or just cast charts and look at tables, but you get outside and the sky teaches you that things are a little bit different than maybe we learn on paper. Anyway, perhaps that's for later, although it's really already in the air. It's a tricky month of astrological alignments. Hence this description today, some of the greatest gifts are wrapped in the ugliest paper. Play a song that helps you cry, then celebrate your growth. When life is hard, we can choose to love it all, despite it all. So why break through walls when we can simply tunnel beneath them? Oh, okay, perhaps because tunneling isn't simple. Right? How do we get into the hidden places? How do we go into that which has been suppressed? We have to be in the body. So much of this resides, in the cells, in the muscles, in the fat, right? This weight that we carry. So more than anything, I think looking to this release of this exalted Taurus moon, trining Venus, who's still out of bounds, right? Looking at the sextile of the sun and Pluto, instead of just focusing on the sun, Jupiter square, at least that's Jupiter, or this Mars, Uranus opposition, but you've got to do the whole chart, friends. And what it says is revolution of the mind by going into the power of the heart, which you will find if you are willing to dance, move, and be in your body. So even if you, like me, are super busy today or this week or this year, we've got to make sure we get outside, hold the trees, and let the trees hold you. Their breath is necessary for us to survive. And you know what? Our breath is necessary for them to survive too. You are not the virus. Humanity is not the disease. Yes, things have been pretty murky for a long time, especially since that Industrial Revolution. And this revolutionary thing can be traumatic on an individual level too, but this is the ugly paper. Are we willing to unwrap it and see the gift that is inside? This doesn't mean we shouldn't change our tunes, but if we just walk around in a state of shame and blame, what is that going to fix? Well, fix yourself to fix the world, but I suggest you bring a medicine called love if you want to make that real and in such a way that will last. See you in space.